Good evening, boxing fans, and welcome to Enter the Ring Live for Sunday, April the 18th, 2021, with Mighty Mike. And
AJ Rage.
we are currently awaiting Eric the Red. I know he's, weekends are his busy time for his business, so we're just going to kind of hang tight till he joins us. I'm sure he'll be joining us pretty soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he'll be here. He always is.
What's going on, bro? I got my microphone cord stuck. God damn it.
Hey, man, I know what you're talking about, dude. Last second, dude, it's like, I got my everything going right, for the setup. And next thing you know, my Mac just takes a shit on me. And I'm just like, it's the same old story every day, man,
I know. These computers, man, I mean, they make up too fast.
I guess so.
They got to work the bugs out.
You got to do something, man. It's ridiculous. You pay all this money for these things. And then they do these updates. And you wonder yourself, why the hell did I even do that update? Because now my computer doesn't work, and especially with me and you, being musicians, we rely on these things, and it's like, it's tough.
Yeah. So anyways, we had a very interesting weekend of boxing. I think overall, I would say, I don't know if I had to grade it on a scale of 1 to 10, this overall weekend of boxing, I give it about a 4.
If that.
I think the best fight of the whole weekend probably was one that we probably didn't even see coming, which was probably that one of the undercards on that PBC card. But it just was, I mean, like I said, they ran the gamut from a quality PBC show to a subpar DAZN card to an absolute shit show Triller, whatever that is. It's entertainment / with some boxing mixed in. But I don't know. What do you want to talk about first? You want to talk about, well, in succession, I guess we could talk about the DAZN card. Demetrius Andrade wins a 12-round unanimous decision over Liam Williams. Overall, what did you think of that fight?
I'm going to be honest with you. It ended exactly how I thought it was going to. I heard going into the actual event that Demetrius had this chip on his shoulder. Yeah. Well, it takes more than a chip in order to really be successful. And this is the guy who's been clamoring for the top guys, Gennady Golovkin, Jamal Charlo, to name a few.
Yeah.
Based on his performance, you can't really find a reason why. And I think at this point, Demetrius Andrade's got to wonder why he's even rated below Jaime Mughia in the world rankings, him being a champion, being the fact that, he fought against a guy who was there to be hit. Let's be honest. The guy was very overrated. I mean,
well, you said it on your post. You said a determined but lacking skill.
Yeah, just very
Liam Williams had he had nothing. I mean, no jab, I mean, it was hard to watch.
Well, the thing is, bro, is like, and welcome Eric the Red here. Eric the Red is here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can see you, brother.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Getting back what I was saying real quick was, you take any of the top 3 guys, with exception to Moyota. I don't know too much about him, but I mean,
the Japanese kid,
Triple G, Jaime Mughia. If they drop you the way he was dropped in the second round, that fight's pretty much over. Once again, Demetrius Andrade goes into this shell and allows this guy to come back and be successful at times. Where I think Demetrius Andrade, where the fight really turned, you had said something about a lack of confidence. I think he got stunned, and I think Demetrius Andrade is one of those guys that when he gets hurt, it's hard for him to kind of come back. He won the fight. Don't get me wrong. I basically almost gave him every single round. Yeah. But, to think
it was like the most unimpressive unanimous decision I've seen in a long time. It just wasn't impressive. I mean, he had flashes here and there, especially the first couple rounds where he looked really good. After that knockdown, I thought, he's gonna end this fight early, and then in true Demetrius Andrade fashion, he just goes into a shell and just stinks the place up, man.
No, he really does. He does that. He does that every single time, and it just drives me nuts, man.
Maybe he just wants to get some rounds in.
He doesn't look at. He doesn't command an audience. Look at, we watched that fight yesterday because obviously, because we love boxing, and any fight on a Saturday or a Sunday or Friday, whatever, we're going to try to make a concerted effort to watch that fight. He just doesn't excite people. He really doesn't.
No,
he doesn't. He just doesn't. And he's quirky and he's weird. The one thing that I do like about him is I do like how he's a little bit unorthodox. He kind of reminds me of a middleweight version of Nassim Hamed, where he kind of throws punches from angles where he's not supposed to. And successful, he was throwing those lead uppercuts, which is something you're not normally ever supposed to do, lead with an uppercut. But at times when he was doing that, throwing that right uppercut, he was catching Liam Williams, like lifting his head up. And I said, well, just follow it up, though. Follow it through with the left or a left or something. I don't know.
Well, I mean, a couple of things that I think, just listening to Chris, the gibberish coming out of Chris Algieri's mouth was just driving me crazy. I mean, I literally want to go through the screen and tell him and remind Chris that you're a very fortunate fighter, because at the end of the day, you're more of a kickboxer and a fitness guy than you are a boxer, So I really don't care about what fight he's got coming up next. But what really gets me about Andrade, here's a guy that keeps saying, he wants this, he wants that, but he consistently prices himself out when given an opportunity. Let's be honest. Any promoter from Bob Arum to Al Heyman, you name it, the guys over at TGB, nobody's going to give Demetrius Andrade the money he's asking based on performances like this.
You could see Eddie Hearn after the fight, because Chris Mannix was in the ring talking to him about, well, it's your responsibility as a promoter. You promised them these big fights. And you can see Eddie Hearn with this look on his face like, man, it'd be like if you're a used car salesman and you're trying to sell this car and you start it up and the thing gets halfway down the road and it just stalls. And you're like, what can you even say at this point? He's not going to sell. Demetrius Andrade is going to have to really take a menial or minimal payday to get any of the champions in the ring, because they're not going to pay for this guy. He can keep that belt. What does he have? The WBO belt? They're going to be like, whatever. You can keep that, or IBF. I don't know which one it is. So you can keep. They're probably saying you can keep that belt. Just continue to pay them their sanctioning fee, because he's just not an exciting fighter. Eric, did you get a chance to watch that fight, Andre?
I did. And yeah, talk about a bore fest. I was like, it looked like Andrade did not want to fight. It just looked like you said, it looked like he got stunned there. What was that? What round was that? The fourth or
something like that?
Yeah, fourth or fifth round. Yeah, fourth, fifth round.
It did look like he got stunned, and then all of a sudden, everything changed, and he was just like, "I'm just going to go through the motions," and it sucks for us as boxing, fans to watch a fight like that. Because
he looked good the first two rounds.
No, I understand. But had he put stuff together, yeah, he would have probably knocked it Liam out. It would have ended in 8 rounds or 9 rounds. But like you said, he just doesn't have the stuff. He doesn't have the stuff. You have to learn how to knock people out too. And he just didn't do it. He didn't know how to do it.
I question his love for the game. AJ, we talked about it that one time with Victor Ortiz after that one fight. I don't remember where it was, but he says, I don't know about my future. He said, I don't like getting beat up like this or something like this. I just think if he loses, and if he lost devastating, you probably never see him again. I just don't think I don't think he really loves boxing.
Based on the performance that we saw last night, he's setting himself up for a devastating loss. That's what I was thinking. Honestly, I don't see him being successful against Jamal Charlo. And I'm not saying that Charlo is this highly skilled guy, but Charlo hits a lot harder, I believe, than Liam Williams did. I don't think Liam Williams hits as hard. Look at the manner in which and his positioning of his body when he throws the punches. You can't tell. He almost like arm punches. He's got a little bit of pop, but he's not this devastating Mike Tyson.
And they kept saying that too. They kept saying he's got power, and I know that's their job to try to continue to sell the excitement, because they're trying to maybe let the fans know that, hey, anything can happen at any moment. But he doesn't have any real pop against any legitimate guys, against any world-class competition.
No, he doesn't. And I think one of the things that really, really made me feel that Andrade at this point needs to really kind of like rethink his career, because at the end of the day, he's going to look at it when he's done with boxing, and he put himself in this position like so many others. Like we've talked about Terrence Crawford. The clock is ticking. The man's 33 years old, on the verge of 34 years old, still doesn't have a significant win in his resume. But yet people question guys like Canelo, Triple G, and others who have fought on the top of the division. Demetrius Andrade has yet to fight anybody that even remotely resembles a top contender within the middleweight division.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know where Liam Williams is ranked at this moment, but
I say put him in there with Michael. Let Michael you'll take him out, Michael.
No, he's too big for me, man. He's big boy. He sheds down at 160, but he probably walks around at 185, 190 pounds. He's a big boy.
I think he made a good point though on there, Mike, about Demetrius's commitment. We've seen this in other boxers over time, but it's not just commitment. They question themselves at points. Kind of like what happened with Chon Zepeda for a while. which that fight with Baranchek, I think, changed whatever the issue Chon was having, because at that point, Chon didn't have time to question himself. He had to make a decision on the spot. Am I going to stay here and fight, or am I going to just sit on the mat and give up? Chon got up and fought. I don't know if Demetrius had put on his ass by one of these top guys, if he's going to get up.
Nope.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
My money's on him staying on the canvas.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, it's just, it's just really sad, because I mean, you think to yourself, here's a guy who's been saying from day one, I deserve the best. I want this. He talks about Canelo. He talks about Triple G. He says he wants this person. He wants this person. How? When the Billy Joe Saunders fight fell through, he didn't seem very, very resourceful enough to want to say, hey, clamor to the public, hey, I really want this fight. He just kind of let it slide under the table and go away. So I don't really know at this point with Demetrius Andre.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned Billy Joe Saunders, because I think both guys are kind of in the same. I don't know. I mean, I think they're kind of like carbon copies of each other. Both southpaws, both can show flashes of brilliance, but like you said, it's their commitment level. Now, supposedly Saunders is having a good camp and he's looking good and whatever. We'll see. I mean, never know. Here's the thing with Billy Joe, you never know which one you're going to get. I think you kind of know which Demetrius Andre you're going to get. He just falls into that same mode every time. He's like, I don't know. He's like watching I don't know. It's like watching a movie or a TV show that you've seen over and over again. Yeah, you might still tune in to watch it because you know what's going to happen. You kind of know what's going to happen with Andre until he steps up. Once he steps up against a Hugo Gongora or anybody else he gets in there, I don't think he makes it out of the fight. I really don't.
I'll say this, bro.
I think Mughia just takes him out quick. Probably
the power is too much. But I was thinking about something. I think it's time to write a book. I think I've solved the Da Vinci codes of boxing, and I'm gonna tell you what I mean by this. When it comes to guys like Billy Joe Saunders, and you see the promoters, and like Eddie Hearn was saying, oh, Billy Joe Saunders looks absolutely amazing. He's going to be at the top of his game. This will be Canelo's toughest challenge. The problem is,
he says that
Billy Joe Saunders is just doing this right now. Canelo's been doing this for the last few years, fight after fight after fight. Doesn't take any breaks. Doesn't come in and look subpar. He tests himself every time. So that theory really doesn't work. Same situation with Andy Ruiz and Cristobal Areola. Everybody talks about, well, Andy's lost weight and he's going to be this. Yeah, but you're also changing the way he fights. So it's almost like he's starting from square one against a very dangerous, very experienced, even at 40 years old, in Cristobal Areola.
Yeah.
Speaking
of, since we are talking about the zone, let's jump on this really quick before we get to the other two cards that happened over the weekend. Let's stick with the zone and talk about, as you guys probably have read, Jaime Mughia's fight for next Friday is now off. The kid Ballard hurt himself in training. They haven't really got specific on what happened. I don't necessarily think the kid hurt himself, or if he has, I haven't seen any specific reports. The Polish Shilecki fight fell through, and then this guy was the last round replacement. Then maybe his people probably said, hey, well, hold on a second. Our kid is undefeated, and he is a golden boy guy. They said, well, let's pump the brakes. Let's feign an injury so we can get out of this one, because maybe they think they got something with the kid, and this might have been a little bit too much too soon. Whereas Jaime's been training and ready for the top guys. So At this point, it looks like Mughia has no fight this coming weekend. It's been pushed back to June, and it's not guaranteed who the opponent's going to be. It isn't like they postponed this fight. Mughia once again is a fighter without a date, and this is happening far too often. I hate to say it, with the DAZN and Golden Boy promotion and Matchroom. These fights are they seem like they're falling through left and right.
I mean, how much do you think is going to be the blame is going to be put on the promoters, and how much is going to be put on the fighters? And in the situation with Demetrius Ballard, I went back and I watched a few of his fights. I haven't watched his fight against Falcao. I'm going to be honest with you. He really does not have any reason being in the ring with Jaime Mughia. This is a guy who fought really low level. I'm not even talking guys who even had a huge resume, of boxing, of being an opponent. So he was getting hurt. He got hurt. And almost every fight I saw, he got hurt early. And I thought to myself, wow, this would have just been a waste of money. Maybe it was De La Hoya or Samper or whatever. Maybe they went back and looked at it and said, hey, you know what? Why are we even putting this together? It's not going to be any.
What's bad for Jaime, though, is I know he's been training all year. He's been training. He stays in the gym. 24. I mean, not 24/7, but 5-6 days out of the week, and now he's going to sit around for another couple months now.
Yeah,
I mean that's bad. That's bad for him. The good thing for Jaime is he's still young. He's 24. He's young. He can adjust these little minor setbacks, but he fought, what was it, this last December when he fought here in India against Turiano Johnson, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
by the time he gets in
Christmas,
the ring, you're gonna look about a 6-7 month. I guess during the pandemic, it's not that bad, but I know he's itching for a fight. So,
I mean, he should be at this point. I mean, like I said, I mean, the way it's going to box right now with this whole COVID thing, I mean, that's still going on right now. So it's really hurting a lot of these athletes, and I feel for them. I really do.
Yeah. Let's jump to the PBC card that took place on Fox yesterday. Main event was the undercard. There was was it Omar Juarez who fought on the undercard? Fought a good tough 10-round fight. Yeah. Against, I can't say that, Arroyo, was that the
Arroyo? Yeah,
Arroyo. Good fight. That was a fight. That was actually a good scrap. I mean, once again, it was another unanimous decision for Omar, but that other guy was competitive at times, and it was a good fight.
No, it was. I definitely enjoyed it. I think Omar is definitely a guy who's on the rise. I mean, he's a young kid. I believe he's only 21, if that.
Yeah,
he definitely showed some flashes of brilliance. He's a tough kid too.
He's tough. Yeah,
he fought a different way than he did in his previous fight, where he fought more in fighting and he showed some versatility. I was impressed by him.
Yeah, Eric, what did you think of that fight?
It was a good fight. I thought I can't say his name either. Arroyo, whatever. I thought he got a couple of rounds in there. I mean, but it was a scrap, like you said. I mean, it was a good back and forth, and he was in it the whole time. I mean, but yeah, I don't see how he could have. He actually won, but he, no, it's a good fight.
He put a good account of himself up there, so he'll get it.
Yeah,
he'll get the call again.
His stock value went up in that fight.
He'll get the call again, so that's good.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
There was an upset on that card. The young 18-year-old kid Vito Melnicki ended up losing. I mean, he's still young to the game, and he's a very young kid. And he was another kind of like a Joey Spencer, but even younger than Joey Spencer. A guy that just kind of forgoed the entire Olympics that's supposed to happen, because it may or may not happen now. We don't even know. But either way, these guys are really kind of jumping into the mix early, and I don't know, man. I mean, Joey Spencer, they kind of pumped the brakes on him, and they started realizing that, hey, maybe this guy's kind of not what we said he was. Let's pump the brakes, pull him back a little bit. Now, Vito Melnicki, like AJ, you said, he fought a guy who actually had some skill and some and he was crafty, and he ended up losing was it a majority decision or split?
It was a majority decision. I mean, I had the other kid winning by a couple points, but yeah, his father was he's a guy who comes. He's got a couple brothers and some cousins that were boxers. His dad was a light heavyweight contender back in the day. So I mean, this is a guy who knew boxing. You look at the guy's 2 losses, and his one loss was against a highly regarded prospect that's coming up. So I mean, this is a guy who wasn't just some pushover. And that's the unfortunate thing, because you could see it in Vito Melnicki's father afterwards, this disappointed look. Well, you should be disappointed, because you're the one that pointed him in this direction. You're the one that spoon fed him this weak lineup and didn't properly prepare him for where it's at. So hopefully,
he's a bleeder too.
Yeah. So hopefully Vito can, get back to the gym, go back to basics. I don't see anything special in him, like Joey Spencer. I don't see that one thing that he does well. He does several things good, but nothing overwhelmingly well. And that's what you need to do to be special, like a guy like a Lomachenko amongst others. You have to do something really, really out of the norm that makes these guys question what you're doing in the ring. And he just doesn't have that. He's very predictable. We got
to also think, I mean, he's 18 years old. He's a young kid still. So hopefully he'll be able to, come back from this and actually get the right training and get and get in the ring and actually develop some of those special things that you learn over time. Muscle memory is there for a reason. You know what I mean? These young kids that are just brand new, they didn't have a lot of amateur fights. So
he did though. He was actually a stellar amateur. But I think the problem with Vito is, he's only learned. Some people go into a fight with only one plan. You have to have a backup plan. You have to have a plan B. he didn't have that. And unfortunately, Vito got in a fight where somebody actually hit him back. Go back and look at his previous fights. I mean, it was pretty much, it was like watching an Edgar Berlanga fight. It was just like he went in there and he just destroyed these nobodies. But now he got in there with a guy who didn't even have a knockout punch, to be honest with you. He's lucky he wasn't in there with a puncher, because it would have probably been a more uglier situation.
Yeah, this kid, it was James Martin, the kid. Well, he was 6-2. How many knockouts did the kid have? He just had a couple knockouts. No knockouts.
No knockouts. That's what I'm saying. He wasn't a puncher.
Yeah.
But the kid's a bit of a bleeder too, man. I mean, he was really bleeding.
Yeah, rumor has he does that a lot in the gym and stuff. Mike could tell you all about that.
Melnicki?
Yeah.
Was it his nose again?
His nose again,
it was his nose.
Yeah, he's got that prominent nose. You know what I mean? He's just going to have to fight through that. I mean, just over time, it'll stop.
You need to cauterize that crap, man.
You had that, Mike. You had that problem for years. Remember?
Yeah, nosebleeds. Yeah,
you always got nosebleeds. You know.
Yeah. Well.
So, anyways, for Melnicki, I know that was probably a little bit tough for Joe Goosen to watch and call that fight too, because I know that he trained with Joe for a short time, and now either Joe was a little bit happy on the inside, or he was actually felt for the kid, but. Yeah. I know Joe Goosen with his inflated ego. He's probably thinking, well, if he would have stayed with me, he wouldn't have had this issue. Whatever.
You're probably right. Hey, I don't know if it was on the same card or whatever, but the gentleman who beat Abel Sanchez's fighter, Carlos Gongora, defended his IBO super middleweight championship against a very we'll talk more about Red Catch later, but Christopher Peterson, who I saw in his fight, I had it wrong earlier. He's the one that beat Falcao. I was very impressed in that fight. He did not show up. He had this attitude. I mean, he was moments away from getting disqualified he was pushing the ref's hand away. And, he's acting like he wants to be a part of this fight. This guy finally gets an opportunity after being dumped by Mayweather Promotions, left out, in the barren lands, comes back, gets an upset against Falcao, gets thrusted into a world title shot and just gives it away.
Yeah, and then when he ended up losing that fight, he went down, got up, beat the count, and then went down again. At that point, he just didn't want to fight anymore. This entire weekend was such a far cry from the weekend we had. Was it last weekend or before we had just great fight, just all these great fights, but I was disappointed in that guy as well. Now, try to gauge Gongora, the guy out of was it Colombia or Ecuador, wherever Ecuador, right?
Ecuador, yeah.
I don't know what to make on the guy. Yeah, the guy's good, but he had a guy in front of him that really he looked disinterested, like he would rather be somewhere else. He kind of cashed it in before he ever even hit the ring. So it's kind of hard to gauge.
I tell you what, I kind of like Gongora. He's not, he doesn't have. He's got decent skills. But what I like about the guy is he doesn't waste punches. He really kind of pinpoints where he's going to do, and he reminds me, and you may not agree, he reminds me almost of a version of like David Benavidez. Not as slick, not as mobile as Benavidez, but just picks his punches and places them exactly where they need to be. Yeah. And the thing was, that was the thing that happened with Pearson. He just didn't have any answer. And I think that's why he shut down right from the get-go. He felt Gongora's power, and saw that Gongora, was a lot better fighter than people give him credit. He's definitely somebody that needs to be looked at 168 pounds. It could make a possible interesting matchup. Think about Gongora against maybe a Callum Smith. That might be an interesting matchup.
Callum Smith or Caleb Plant?
Yeah. Either one. One.
Okay. Yeah.
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 I mean, he's a guy that they don't talk about 168 pounds. They talk about Andrade, the IBO champion in the middleweight. Nobody talks about Carlos Gongora. I know this is his first title defense, but he's left out of a lot of conversations. I think at this point, somebody needs to look, especially with the way Pearson beat Falcao. You got to look at the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Well, he's another guy to add it to the mix because, that division's got some good fighters, but it's not overly stacked. So
no, it's kind of thinning out. It's thinning out.
Especially if certain guys decide to move north to 175. Let's talk about the main event, man. The main event that I was very excited for. Tony Harrison ends up fighting to a 12-round draw against Brian Perella. Brian Perella's first fight at 154. He's a guy that fought, what was it, about a year and a half ago, 13 months ago, they said, and he was winning the entire fight.
Abel Ramos.
Yeah, Abel Ramos to get stopped in the last. I mean, it was a stoppage that should have never happened. I mean, he got knocked down, he got hurt, but he did get up, beat the count, referee stopped the fight. Either way, I got to say, man,
visions of Chavez and Meldrick Taylor, dude.
Yeah.
I had Perella winning that fight.
I had Perella edging it by at least a round, maybe even two. And I'm a Tony Harrison fan. I love Tony Harrison. I think he's a great fighter. But something was amiss with the guy. It's like he said during the pre-fight interviews, he says, "Well, I'm supposed to knock this guy out," and I think he went in with a mindset like, "I don't even have to really hit the gas yet. I'll just I'll just kind of coast for the first few rounds, and then when it's time for me to put my foot on the gas, then I'll do it and take him out." Brian Perella was having none of it. I mean, he bit down. I mean, he got hit a couple times, in retreat mode, but he bit down on his mouthpiece and stood his ground. And like Eric said, I had him winning the fight. I'm not mad at a draw because I understand from a business perspective, it's gonna help both guys. Perella accepted the fight. They said, "Hey, this is your first foray at 154. Hey, we're going to throw you in there with a former world champion who just lost his belt to Jermell Charlo and actually was winning the rematch against Charlo before he ran out of gas and got stopped." Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
you got to I look at it this way. I mean, you're absolutely right, bro. Perella was very well. He had the right plan. I always talk about a plan going into the fight. Roy Jones Jr. did an exceptional job with Brian Perella going into this fight. I think in the situation going with Tony Harrison, one of the things that he's going to lack, and you saw evidence of it right from the get-go, his dad really prepared Tony for each bout. He had all of the answers for the questions Tony had, where his brother doesn't. His brother's more of a cheerleader, more of a fan. He didn't come off to me as a stern guy who's instructing Tony what Tony needs to do. It's kind of like
he had no instructions at all.
Yeah, it was just kind of like just tell him have fun.
He was just there to give him water and just. I mean, his brother.
It reminds me, his brother. I mean, Tony really needs to get with a real trainer. I mean, he can have his brother be part of his corner, but Tony needs to get in with a guy who actually has a plan. Because I'll tell you right now, against the next level guy in Tony Harrison's career, he's going to have an issue. Tony's got to find out, first of all, does he even want to fight anymore? And if he does want to fight anymore, he's got to let that pain of his father kind of go to the side, use it as some inspiration and some whatever he needs, but get a proper coaching that it's going to push him and get his mind back where he needs to be. Because Tony's a very talented fighter. He really is. Probably one of the best. Yeah. But the problem is when he has these lapses in memories, like you can see Tony's still feeling that pain right now. They made a comment about him playing video games and they were having discussions with him prior to the fight. That shows me right there. That's not Tony Harrison. I've seen Tony Harrison in pre-fights before. His mind was not set on Brian Perella, and he almost paid the price.
Well, like you said, he thought, okay, this is just the guy coming up from 147, and I should have no problem with this guy. I don't know, man. It's like running a race, and you kind of just, you kind of let somebody run off of, a few yards ahead of you, and then you try to play catch up. But before you know it, the finish line is going to get there. And before you know it, it got like to the 9th round, the 11th round. I'm thinking, when is Harrison going to do something? When is he going to really, assert himself and really take control of this fight? And he just never did. And,
Well, you know what? There's another side to it too. And I mean, it's not a side that I really want to bring up, but sometimes fighters, they get to that point of their career where they've done so much and then they have that loss in their life and they just don't really want it anymore, but they just can't walk away from the sport. They have to give a reason why. Maybe this is Tony Harrison. Maybe he just didn't put a big effort because maybe this is Tony was looking for a way out to say, hey, you know what? I lost this guy coming up, because I don't think Tony would have really fought if he wouldn't have got the decision. I think he probably would have announced his retirement and said, you know what, I'm going to have a better day. It's just not the same without my pops, whatever. Because I just didn't see it from Tony. There was times when he hit Brian Perella, and the things that Tony does through instinct, he wasn't doing for some reason.
He was landing one shot at a time.
Yeah, that's not Harrison. That's not Harrison. You just don't stop doing that all of a sudden. So I think maybe on another thing, he may be looking for a way out.
Yeah, hey, you never know, man.
Very
you never know.
You never know.
He just mentally, he just did not look there. I mean, he just had this confused look in his face about midway through the fight. He just had this look in his eyes like, man, like, I got how many more rounds to go to? I don't know. You got to, this is not the kind of sport you want to be half-hearted in. You get to be all the way in or all the way out because you're.
Well, plus, too, I mean, you got to think about it this way, too. With Tony losing his father, Tony always had that advantage. He knew he had that in his pocket, where if he had a bad round, he knew when he went back to the corner, his dad was going to give him the proper instruction, which he needed, that motivation to get back in for the next round. His brother wasn't doing that. You knew that right from the get-go. It was just a rah, hey, man, have fun in there. No instruction whatsoever. I'm like, dude, that's not going to work.
No. And at one point, he even said he was happy with what he was doing. And that was a round he had clearly just lost.
Yeah, it was like
I'm thinking, what is this guy? Is this guy paying attention? Is he on his cell phone at ringside? What is going on with this guy?
no, he needs a real trainer. I mean,
he
that's
needs a real trainer. Yeah, he
really,
needs somebody
he
that's
really
going to
does.
light a fire in him. I think of right away.
got to.
I think of someone like a Buddy McGirt. I think of somebody like a Teddy Atlas. Somebody that's going to get the best and the most out of him. You know.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go back to the first fight against Charlo. What his dad's instruction was in the 11th and 12th, when he was telling Tony, show him who you are. Be that type. Get out there and dig. And I mean, he kept telling him that. It's like, that's what you need. You don't go in there and tell him and pat him on the back and go, man, everything looks good. Have fun out there. No, it's not fun. All right. This is a sport. And he almost threw away his career last night. No disrespect to Brian Perella, but Brian Perella does not resemble a fighter who should be beating a fighter at the caliber of Tony Harrison. Tony Harrison is one of the best 154 pounders in the world, if not possibly the best right now, until somebody can prove different. I mean, he ran out of gas against Charlo, but he was handing Charlo his ass.
Yeah, well, at this point, you got to say Charlo's the best at 154.
Absolutely.
But Tony Harrison was a distant number two. I don't know. What does he do against someone like a Jared Hurd or not lackluster effort against the killer, someone like a Tim Tszyu, who's not going to let him off the hook, who's going to just, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if Tony Harrison, I don't know, AG, he's got to have to do some serious soul searching.
He really does, bro. He really does. And that's a great point.
I think if you put Tszyu in there with him, it would be a very
not right now. Tszyu's not ready for that right now. I wouldn't put Tszyu in there with them right now because Tony Harrison, because a fighter like that could all of a sudden flip a switch and go back to being what they were. Tim Tszyu, to me, I think he's one of the top guys.
I'd put Tim Tszyu in with the Harrison that showed up at that fight.
Oh yeah. That Harrison,
that's what I'm talking about.
Not the Harrison that fought against Jamel Charlo. And don't get me wrong, Tim Tszyu's right there, but he'll admit it to himself. He's still a few fights away before he feels that he's got to be ready for these other guys. Can Tim Tszyu be competitive against any of these 154-pound champions? Yeah, absolutely. I think he beats Brian Castano. It's a toss-up between him and Charlo because Charlo is a big puncher. We really don't know what kind of chin Tim Tszyu has right now and stuff like this. He hasn't really been tested against a fighter of that caliber and stuff. But I'll tell you something right now. Tim Tszyu's doing everything right. And he's got the right mentality. And he's got the right focus and the right team.
Yeah. And it is a team thing. I mean,
it is. You got to have a team, man. You can't go in there and do it by yourself, man. Don't do the Omar Figueroa thing. It doesn't work. Don't show up without a trainer and your sister in some hot tight, booty shorts. It doesn't work. You got to have a team. You got to have a Robert Alcazar. You got to have an Emmanuel Stewart. Whatever it is, you got to have a team.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, other than that, you guys want to talk I really don't even want to talk about the Triller thing. I like to talk about
Triller.
Whatever. I don't even care.
You know what? I've got one thing to say. I've only got one thing to say about the whole damn thing. What the hell are those announcers? Just shut them up. I can't handle hearing them. Snoop Dogg and Mario, whatever the frick.
Actually, I feel bad for Mario Lopez because he's actually a boxing fan, and he was actually the only one of them that was trying to make it boxing. He was the only one.
Drink. Oh, well, this is the first time I'm going to have a drink. And I'm thinking to myself,
Bernstein,
shut the hell up.
Oh, don't even get me going on Bernstein.
Yeah. No.
Here's one thing I will say about that. I think, and there's something going on right now with Golden Boy and with Triller, because I saw all on social media, not only were they there in some type of capacity, some kind of a co-promotion capacity or something, I don't know, but they were actually there conducting business beforehand. This Ryan Kavanaugh, who owns this Triller, and he was there with Oscar, and then I know a guy named David Tatro, who's his president of like media relations and all that shit, and they kept posting all this selfies and all this shit about like it's a big fucking deal. And to me it's an insult. This guy Ryan Kavanaugh comes from the entertainment industry, relativity media. I remember, I think they used to have an office on the Warner Brothers lot. This was years ago. The guy's he's a heavyweight when it comes to producing films. I think what AJ, you asked me about this earlier, what his motivation or why he's involved. I think he senses the climate in the country right now. Everything is adversarial, confrontational. Let's settle this, not in diplomatic way. Let's settle it with words and anger or punches or whatever. And they're trying to incorporate that and use that. I mean, basically they're striking while the iron's hot, but here's the problem. See, that's going to flame out really, really quick because you can't continue to put these garbage cards on, these garbage fights on, right? Yeah. These little knucklehead kids that are Jake Paul fans and whatever, and whoever these other YouTube guys were, they're fighting, they're going to eventually just sour on it and go, you know what? I spent, $30 last time. I'm not going to do it this time. And the fighters and promoters that are getting involved in
they
this,
got to ask their mom and dad for the $30.
Yeah, Regis Prograis, he's probably regretting the shit out of that.
Well, you can see it on Regis's face. Regis was like
the whole thing was
insulted.
The whole thing was a joke.
Horrible.
The Steve Cunningham fight versus Frank Mir. Steve Cunningham didn't even try.
He didn't even try.
The first fight was some reggaeton artist, whoever the hell he was, some guy who looked like a. I know 3-year-olds that could throw better punches than this guy, and the guy that beat him was a guy that had, I guess, like 7 or 8 fights years back, and it was just completely, it was staged. It was like a setup. It was like orchestrated theater. It was horrible, but I just want to end on this because I didn't even watch the main event. I watched it because I wanted to see the Regis Prograis fight, and I wanted to see his fight with Red Catch, which turned out to be a complete shit show. But not only, and I think I text you, AJ, I said that the camera angles and the camera work was absolutely atrocious for this fight.
Terrible.
These guys were out of position. There was one point during one of the earlier fights where they were focusing on the announcers and the fight was going on in the ring, and it's like Snoop Dogg, okay. He says this all the time. I'm from the hood. No,
he's not from the hood.
Motherfucker. You live in Diamond Bar. You've lived in Diamond Bar for 20 years and you lived in Claremont for 10 years before that. What are you? He's in his late 40s. He's lived most of his life, more than half of his life in the suburbs, surrounded by white and Asian people, but he acts like a tough guy. He's not a tough guy.
Hey, Mike, you remember the time when your team, when you guys were doing that thing with the Snoop Dogg All-Stars? See, a lot of people don't realize, but me and my brothers, we've been there, done that. And Snoop Dogg started this thing called the Snoop Dogg All-Stars. I'm not going to say which one of our friends put Snoop to sleep and made him never want to put a pair of shoulder pads on again. That's another story. Yeah. But after I remember practice one time, Snoop gave some CDs away, his new CD, to a bunch of our players who are real. I'm talking, these are guys straight from the jungle. I'm not talking about the jungle in Africa. I'm talking about Inglewood, baby. All right.
Yeah.
And these guys were throwing the CD out the window. Like, dude, I don't listen to that shit. You know, this guy's false.
The guy's a fraud, and he has no business.
To go hang out with Martha Stewart more.
No, he has no business being around boxing. They're what they're doing is they're using boxing, right? And it's funny, ironically enough, Teofimo Lopez versus George Cambosis, they won the purse bid, and the fight's going to be on this because the whole lead up to it is the circus. It's one thing to be disrespectful and or it's one thing to have some bad blood and talk up a fight, but these guys are it's getting ridiculous. It's like, why all the bad blood all of a sudden? Why all of a sudden does Teofimo and Cambosis have bad blood? I mean, I see pictures.
They got to sell the show, bro. They got to sell this fight because nobody's really interested. I actually got another spin on it real quick. I'll let you talk real quick. Oh, go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I just had one little thing to think of. You know how Snoop Dogg is always doing those commercials with Martha Stewart and whatnot. No, she's actually harder than him because she's actually done time.
Oh yeah, that's right. Hey, I never thought about that, dude.
She's done time. So Snoop Dogg isn't even as hard as freaking Martha Stewart.
It's just ridiculous, man. He keeps, like I said, I don't care what the man does, but when I used to see him at 7-Eleven all the time. That's probably why I kept talking about 7-Eleven. I used to see him at the 7-Eleven on Diamond Bar Boulevard all the time.
Hey, Mike, you think he's got a pizza card like you that gets punches on it?
He probably does. But he literally, the guy he's surrounded himself in suburbia, white and Asian neighborhoods for the last 30 years of his life, but acts like he talks about the hood. It's like, no, you're not, Snoop. You're nothing. And the people that are buying this nonsense, and I'm going to end on this, even more disappointed in seeing Snoop try to sell this nonsense was guys like Ray Flores, like you said, and Mario Lopez that are taking part in this banter and profanity and stuff. So come on, guys. Yeah. Oscar De La Hoya showed yesterday that here's a guy that I had respect for Oscar when he was a fighter, but I have zero respect for him now as a fighter and as a person now. He's up there on that panel, drunk off his ass, slurring his words, acting like an idiot, but then he's telling people, I'm coming back, I'm training this and that. And it's like, dude, just stay away from the boxing ring. Please. Yeah. Fight a YouTube guy, because if you get in there with anybody legitimate, you get in there with an amateur who trains, they're going to knock you out. They're going to knock, because I'm sorry, when you train for a fight, you can't go off on these benders and just get drunk and high and all that shit. That sets you back a good 4 weeks in training. You're just poisoning your body, and then you over here. it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. It's
well, hey, bro, you know what? I actually had a different take on this thing. So this Ryan Kavanaugh, or whatever you're talking about this thing. So we talk about what's going on today and stuff. And you look at a lot of these other sports out there and stuff. You look at the people that are YouTube, that are these so-called influencers, and most of them that are very popular are very disrespectful. They're a bad example, kind of like the Ryan Seacrest effect. Every show that he put out there, whether it be Jersey Shore, whatever it was, or Kardashians, he was putting stuff out there that was actually destroying the moral fiber that is America.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I'm saying is one thing about boxing, there's always been shit talkers going all the way back to the days of Ali, but there's always that line that never gets crossed because it's still the sweet science. Ryan Kavanaugh crossed that line last night. He's trying to bring boxing into the circus ring with MMA, where there's no control. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, let's say, a team like De La Salle, very well-disciplined high school football team. They can have their shit talkers, but when the coach says something, it's business. And then you got Long Beach Poly, talented guys, but they don't listen to a fucking thing. That's the MMA. Boxing is De La Salle. MMA is Long Beach Poly. A bunch of, tattoo guys who just whatever. There's always some stupid shit.
No discipline.
So they're trying to take that one thing that boxing has, control, away. It's not going to work. This is going to be a thing, whatever. But what really gets me as a not only a former fighter, but a lover of boxing. This is, being my sport. It really disappointing to me, especially. I'm not even going to mention Al Bernstein, other than the fact that he should really have his Hall of Fame status taken away. He's turned his back on everything that he did back for 20-something years with ESPN to be a sellout with Showtime. And now he's doing this crap over here, drinking, sitting next to a guy who's smoking weed. If I'm Regis Prograis, I'm worried about if I'm going to piss dirty after the fight and it's just going to affect my career. So you got to really start thinking about it, what's going on. I mean, you got illegal drugs going on. You got alcohol consumption going on. They think by throwing words. And then you put an idiot up there like this Jake Paul who has no business being in a boxing ring. And everybody knows it. And act like they just set the world on fire. Well, you know what? You didn't. Because real boxing fans see through this bullshit. And I saw through it a long time ago.
So what I'm saying is when the dust settles and because this is a fad, when this phases out, the ones that are going to hurt themselves are the De La Hoyas, the Regis Prograis, people.
Not one of these guys will walk in a real gym, bro. Not one of them would ever walk in a real gym.
And I'm telling you, man, I don't know what Oscar's got up his sleeve right now. He's obviously got some kind of motivation to get on that Triller platform. I mean, he was obviously partnered with DAZN for a while, and then DAZN pulled Canelo away. And now he's not necessarily promoted by Matchroom, but Eddie Hearn is basically promoting his fights now. So Oscar once again is looking for somebody to either maybe to come in and bail him out or something. And it bothers me because Golden Boy still has a roster of some talented fighters like Jojo Diaz, guys that I think are good guys. Jojo Diaz, Jaime Mughia, Victor Ortiz. And these guys, I think these guys need to just get away. They just need to get away, man. They need to get how many more fights they got on this contract? Because I'm done with this bullshit. They need to go fight for the PBC. They need to go fight for even Top Rank, Matchroom. Anybody other than stay away from this nonsense because it's straight nonsense.
No, it was. Eric, what was your take on it, bro?
No, I agree. That whole damn scenario with I couldn't. I literally muted the television watching this stupid crap.
It was very disrespectful.
And then I'd unmute it for a second and think maybe I'm missing something. Nope, mute. I couldn't take it, man.
What bothers me about boxing, about this, I mean, and when I say guys like Regis Prograis are lending legitimacy to this. Oscar De La Hoya, who's a boxing guy his entire life, is lending legitimacy to this, and they do not deserve it. I look at a guy like Snoop Dogg, right? And you look at the culture right now in the world, and you look at what everybody riots about. They riot about these young people getting killed by cops or being whatever. But then you got things like Corona beer, you got Tostitos, and these other companies that actually put their money in someone like this guy. And what makes me sick is how many of these little Deontay Wright, whatever that kid's name was, how many of those kids, how many kids out there are no longer walking this earth right now because they bought into the thug lifestyle. They bought into the guns and the money and the weed and all that shit. They bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. And this guy's made millions and millions and millions off of it, and he's rewarded for this shit. I'll never buy a Corona beer as long as I live. I'll never buy a bag of Tostitos as long as I live.
Piss water anyway.
I just don't understand how these guys are not held. These people like him and whatever other rappers they had on there last night, they're just rapping about guns and bitches and all this stupid shit. Why are these guys not held accountable for the debauchery and for the absolute, I don't know, the demoralization and the total breakdown of any kind of civil construct in the inner cities? Like I said, you look at what these guys have spent 20, 30 years rapping about guns, about this, about drugs, about money. And these young kids follow that. And where does it lead? It always leads. There's no way out. There's always a dead end at the end of that road. You're either going to be incarcerated, you're either going to be shot by somebody else, or you're going to be shot by a cop. But then, then, like I said, then De La Hoya wants to align himself with this. De La Hoya and Regis Prograis, now Teofimo Lopez, and want to legitimize.
Sad days, bro.
I'm going to do a quick shout out real quick. Hold on one second. There's a song called Blame the Rappers by Tom McDonald that everybody should listen to. Everybody should listen to this. And it basically explains exactly what you just said, brother. Exactly what you just said. It's Blame the Rappers, because it's crap. I mean,
I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what it is. It's cancel culture, man. It comes down to this. The Gen Xers that are out there, we're Gen Xers and stuff. We're the guys that didn't, I'm going to say this again. We weren't raised sitting behind a video game. We weren't raised with a cell phone in our hand. We were all latchkey kids. We knew what it was to get punished by our father. We knew what it was when our dad told us to do something, our mom told us to do something. We actually did it. We didn't question it. We didn't have feelings. We actually played outside. We weren't afraid of sickness. It's just the way it is. But the problem is right now is that the reason why this is allowed is because it's kind of like, I got this dog next door, this little pussy that loves to bark at my dogs every single day. But you see, he's behind a wall and a steel fence. So he's going to bark and act aggressive and hit the fence as hard as you can. And my dogs are confused. And I tell my wife all the time, I go, my dogs aren't threatened, because it's just like these guys that you see, these influencers, these Jake Pauls and all these other people. They make these assumptions like they're such tough people. But when that fence and that brick wall is no longer there, it's a different story.
Yeah.
Then the true ones who are going to stand. I'm always going to stand for my sport. I'm going to stand for the ones I love, like my brothers and stuff. I'm not going to be a pushover. I'm not going to accept something just because you're going to put money in my pocket. There's so many times I could have done it in my life and I've never done it. I'm not going to sell my soul right now. But the bottom line is, that's what this world's turned into. A bunch of sensitive ninnies that just don't want to take a true ass kicking and don't have thick skin. I said it from the get-go. If you don't have thick skin, you don't belong in professional sports, and don't even think about being a part of a band. Because you got to have thick skin.
Yeah.
You got to be able to take criticism. If you can't take criticism, today it's like, you criticize your kid or you punish your kid. Next thing you know, you got social workers at your fucking door. It's ridiculous, man.
Everybody's gotten a goddamn participation trophy for everything.
My kids never did. My kids never did.
Awarded because you're a loser. You know
I never let my kids accept a participation trophy. We would leave it on the freaking. We leave it right there. Either they won or they lost. There's nothing wrong with second or third place.
Yeah, you got to let a kid feel disappointment, because life's full of disappointments.
Yeah.
Like you talk about participation trophies, and when you lose, that doesn't mean you're a loser. It just means that, hey, you lost. Guess what? Get better, work harder, and maybe next time you can win. Or you know what? If that's not the sport for you, or if that's not the what you're good at, then find what you are good at. Right? Not everybody could be in the NFL or in the NBA or whatever, or a professional fighter. Right? But
I think that's what's happening in boxing right now, bro.
Yeah, like I said, the souls are being sold. They're selling their souls for the devil. De La Hoya is doing it. He's done it before. He'll do it again. He has no moral fiber left. He's got no backbone left.
But then you got this group of fighters that are encouraging it. The Teofimo Lopez, the Shakur Stevens, the Devin Haney's,
this new crop that are
Edgar Parangas. I mean, these guys are ridiculous. They forget what it was like. I remember the days when a fighter didn't go out there and talk shit on a real fighter, knowing that eventually they might match up. See, when a guy like Shakur Stevens talks shit on a guy like Lomachenko, he knows that there's no possibility. Even if that contract did show up, fresh, green, smelling like mint on his desk the next day, he's got no will to sign it. It's all bullshit. It's all smoke and mirrors. That's all it is smoke and mirrors. Anybody's career that's suffering at this point, a la Demetrius Andre, Terrence Crawford, amongst others, they've done it to themselves. Don't blame your promoter. Don't blame the world. Don't blame coronavirus. Blame yourself for for the decisions that you make and the path that you chose for your career, because you're in this position because of yourself and because of your lack of will to want to step up and fight against a real man.
Yep. Everything is decisions. I mean, there's so much, victim mentality and this and that in this world today. I don't look at, there are no victims. You know what it is? You either make the right choice or you pay the consequences.
Exactly.
Period.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm tired of, I can't get this job because of my color, or I can't do this because of that. That's BS. It's your decisions, your choices in life that make you who you are. So wise up.
Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry, Mike.
No, I would say, but to circle back to the boxing aspect of it, where we kind of got away from it, but I think, like I said, when I say that people like De La Hoya, people like Regis Prograis, now Teofimo Lopez, whoever else is next on their next card, are lending legitimacy to it. It's not only that; it's the boxing media out there that are lending legitimacy to it, that are actually covering these events, that are talking about like it's a big thing. It's like, yeah, you were trending #1 on Twitter or whatever.
Who cares?
Who cares? Who cares? Boxing's always been a niche sport. Boxing's not for everybody. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, there's like you said, AJ, there's a market for that. If you want to just be the shit talking, this and that. I mean, those guys flame out and fizz out so fast. Look at a guy like a Nate Diaz. That guy was the biggest mouth. And look at him. He's fizzled out. Nobody even cares about him anymore. He's probably sitting on a beach somewhere, sitting by a pool somewhere with a beer belly, just drinking beer. Nobody cares about him anymore.
Here's a simple scenario. You take any sport in the world. I'm talking about even in Europe, soccer. It could be the World Cup. You take the World Series, the Super Bowl, you take everything, and you put them all in the same time slot at 6 p.m. And on that same thing, you throw Canelo Triple G, Part 3, who wins?
Yeah.
Shows you right there. Boxing will always do it because at the end of the day, it's the one thing that the other ones don't bring. You know what it is? That element of that devastating knockout. Two guys in there beating the holy shit out of each other. I'm not talking that gay porn shit going on over there at MMA where they hold each other for 5.5 minutes on the ground, scratching each other's ass. I'm talking about fist to face. You know what I'm saying? For 10 to 12 rounds. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And the sad thing what's happening in boxing right now is that the fighters that are true, the fighters that want to bring the good aspect to boxing and stuff are being overshadowed by these big mouth nobodies who don't even have the resume to back up the words that they're saying. And that's sad. So as boxing fans out there, we need to start looking through this transparency bullshit and start jotting down the De La Hoyas, the Al Bernsteins, and all these other guys and just stop watching them.
You know, I agree. And then I don't want people to tune away from the fighters that are with Golden Boy. Because like I said, Jojo Diaz, Mughia, Victor Ortiz. I'm sorry, Victor Ortiz. Not Victor Ortiz. I'm sorry.
Virgil Ortiz.
Virgil Ortiz. I'm thinking of Victor Ortiz. Virgil Ortiz. I'm thinking these guys, I want these guys to succeed, but I really think that I think, like as I said, right now there's something going on. There's something brewing right now behind the scenes with Golden Boy and this Triller platform. And I really think that these fighters need to really, do I want to be part of this circus sideshow? Regis Prograis did a good job of selling before the fight. Well, I think it's a good thing because it brings attention. It's like, no, Regis, that's not that kind of attention you want. That's not. It's like that old saying, not all money is good money. Not all attention is good. And they say, well, all what is it? All media is good media. That's
I'll say the thing is, all press is good press, whether it's bad or it's good. It's not true. But I'm gonna tell you, there's something else on top of that. Ivan Redkach, a guy who actually respected, a guy who had wars against guys like John Molina, amongst others. Really,
Danny Garcia. I
absolutely lost total respect for Ivan Redkach. I don't ever wish to see him in another fight. If I ever see him in real life, I'd actually tell him, dude, I'm very disappointed in that bullshit because I highly and truly believe in my heart that Triller, whatever this thing is, told Ivan Redkach to do that. There is no way. I've seen this man in dog-out wars against guys, like I said, Danny Garcia, amongst others, John Molina. And this guy took a dive.
He feigned it.
Nothing against Regis Prograis, because Regis Prograis looked as confused as everybody. But for whatever reason, they got in Ivan Redkach's head and told him to do this, to really bring this element of this craziness going on. Not to help Regis Prograis. I almost feel like they wanted to steal this fight from Regis Prograis because you know why? I'm going to tell you why. Because Triller won the Teofimo Lopez thing. And guess who's the next possible opponent for Teofimo Lopez?
Yeah.
Regis Prograis. So if Regis Prograis would have been disqualified in this fight, guess what happens? All goes away. Regis was saying it from the side. It ain't going to work. He was saying it right from the ring ropes. It ain't gonna work. He was looking right at Teofimo. He knew what was going on. He had nothing to say.
Yeah, there's something.
This is some bullshit, man. I'm telling you right now.
This guy has a background. This Kavanaugh, his background is producing. I mean, it's all fake.
No one else is gonna say that in boxing, bro. We're gonna say it. I'm telling you right now. That's exactly what fucking happened. They were trying to steal his fight against this guy.
Yeah, and that, like I said, that Steve Cunningham Frank Mir fight was fake. Steve Cunningham didn't even try. Didn't even try. The first fight, I mean, it was, you know, it was just two non-boxers, but either way, it's like this is not a soap opera. You can't choreograph this. There's WWE has the market on that. Yeah. They're trying to make this like a WWE type scripted type event, and I just think it's bad. And I think Regis Prograis is going, damn, I should have just fought on ESPN or fought on PBC or whatever. I mean, why couldn't they make that fight? He could have been on the card yesterday here in LA, the Tony Harrison fight. I mean, that would have been a great.
You know, the funny thing is that the only fighter other than Regis Prograis, the only person there that actually showed like, God, I'm really embarrassed I was here, was the guy who lost to Jake Paul, that Ben Askew. Completely out of shape, 25 pounds over what he did, didn't even try. He gets caught with a punch, goes down, gets up, wasn't hurt. They stopped the fight. That was the intent. As he's walking out with his wife, you could hear it. You could see it. He's like, man, he's shaking his head like, wow, I really fucked up. I shouldn't have done this. The money's not worth it. This is a complete joke. I've got to live for the rest of my life with this bullshit on my fucking mind. What just happened right now?
Yeah, I can tell everybody. Apparently, everybody's got a price, man.
Not me.
Not me.
Not me. All right, what are we at? What time are we at, bro?
We're about 5 minutes, 5 to 6. So,
yeah, got 5 minutes.
So, what do we got? So let's talk about some roboxing. What do we got coming up? We got.
Oh man, there's a lot of good fights coming up. We'd be here for another hour if we wanted to talk about them, but
just bring up some of the hot ones coming up.
We have well, I mean, unfortunately the Jaime Mughia one, but we do have in a couple weeks coming up. We have Chris Arreola versus Andy Reese right here at Dignity Health Sports Center in Carson. Sebastian Fundora is fighting on the undercard.
Hey, real quick, did you notice when they talked about the top 154 pounders? Nobody else talks about him. We've been talking about him. Fundora finally made the list.
You know who wasn't on the list though was Tim Tszyu, but they did say the PBC's top 154 guys, and they do have a lot of guys at 154. So I'll give them a pass for that one because they used to do the same thing when they talked about the welterweight. They wouldn't bring up Crawford, but whatever. But another good fight coming up. I think it's next weekend. Is it next weekend or? I think it's Brandon Figueroa versus Luis Neri. Yeah, and we were talking about that fight at the gym the other day. I think Figueroa gets hit too much.
Neri's too much of a fighter for him, bro. Way too much of a fighter.
It all comes crashing down. He's gonna get knocked out. Yeah,
he's way too much of a fighter for Brandon. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Figueroa, he's got skill. But he's
a tough kid.
He's an oddity like his brother Omar. They just, I don't know, man. I'm not gonna say what Johnny told us. I mean, it's just something weird about them. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But the bottom line is Luis Neri is a top. He reminds me of like a Burchell, one of those scary guys out there and stuff like that. Let's hope he doesn't have the same night as Burchell had against Oscar Valdez.
Yeah.
Because at this point in boxing, there's been so many shocking fights as of late. I mean, you just never know anymore. It's starting to become the sport where styles make fights.
It's true. Yeah, it's very true. So that fight is coming up. When is that fight? I know it's coming up. I know it's in a week or two. We do have some fights coming up next Saturday. We have the ESPN card with Navarrete versus Christopher Diaz. Emmanuel Navarrete versus
a fight I've been scratching my head for the last couple of weeks trying to figure out how that fight even got sanctioned. Nothing against Christopher Diaz. I think he's a solid guy, but he's in the wrong weight class. And once again, you can't tell me that every single guy in that division is running from Navarrete. I don't see it, man. I really, because if you got guys from other divisions below jumping up to take the fight, it makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then of course the following weekend, that's May 1st. Then May 8th, of course, we have the Canelo Billy Joe Saunders. We're going to get more into that probably on our next episode. Maybe dig into the entire card a little bit more, talk about that. But there are some good weeks coming up. Unfortunately for the one I was really looking forward to was this weekend was Jaime, but June will be here soon enough, and he'll get back in the ring. It's going to be a good late spring going into summer, man. A lot of good fights coming up.
I think boxing's doing a great job right now. It really is.
Showtime, the schedule that Showtime released just blew me away. It blew me away because everybody for about 6 months ago, people were saying, "Hey, Showtime's done, they're dead," and Steven Espinosa was sitting back going, "Okay, He was getting a little bit of verbal. He was getting a little bit of Twitter wars with people back and forth. Dana White, I think, and all that. All of a sudden, Showtime opened up the purse and signed these fights. And the biggest one of all that I think, and you got to give this guy, you got to take your hat off to this guy, is Gervonta Tank Davis is jumping up 2 divisions.
Yeah.
To fight Mario Barrios, who's
Mario Barrios.
That's a pay-per-view fight, and that is going to be a great fight. Barrios is that is going to.
I'm going to tell you something right now. I have my good feelings about Tank. I think what Tank did against Leo Santa Cruz, I don't think Santa Cruz belonged in that division, but I'm going to make it real brief because I know we're running out of time here. But Mario Barrios, I'm going to tell you now, so many times he's winning to a fight, and right away, I don't like him. I'm like, nah, he ain't going to get to. This guy is a freaking monster. I'm telling you now, Barrios can punch, he can box, he loves to war. He is your true Tijuana pit bull. I'll tell you right now, Tank may have took a little bit too much. He shouldn't have took that extra slice of pizza because I'm telling you right now,
I don't know what they see, man.
I don't know either because I haven't seen Barrios in a situation. Barrios reminds me of a bigger version of Oscar Valdez, a guy who, doesn't matter what you do to him, you can't keep him down.
Yeah, he's a good fighter, undefeated.
Yeah. Now, Tank goes in there and does something. Hey, my hat's off to Tank Davis, and I'm not shitting on Tank. But
so all these people that were talking about Tank Davis was running from, whether it be Ryan Garcia or Devin Haney, all this nonsense. That's nonsense because this guy is daring to be great.
Yeah,
I mean, and he is. I mean, he really is stepping up, and he's not fighting some cream puff. He is fighting a legitimate guy.
Well, we called it month or two or three ago that these boxers, the true boxers, need to actually do that. They need to try to be great, to take the great fights, to take. That's how you get remembered. Yeah. That's how you get remembered. Yeah. People are going to remember the Tank Davis fight. You know what I mean?
Hey, real quick, I got an upset shocker real quick for you guys that I think I'm predicting, and the fight's signed and it's official. Devin Haney, Jorge Linares. What do you guys think about that? I'm gonna tell you right now, that's not a give me. I don't know where they think Devin Haney. I heard a couple experts were like, "Oh, it's gonna be an easy night for Devin Haney." I don't know who they're. Okay, don't get me wrong. Linares lost a tough fight against Lomachenko. Stepped up and made a bad mistake fighting against what's his name? Soto Kaz or whatever that name is. He loses this fight against a guy. He should never took the fight. Okay, comes back down and starts doing what he's doing. I'm gonna tell you something right now. Devin Haney might be in for a rude awakening because Linares is not only a strong lightweight, he's a big lightweight who hits hard. Doesn't have the greatest chin, but Devin Haney's not a puncher. So I don't know what they're saying. He's not going to outbox Jorge Linares. Boxing doesn't work. If Linares can catch Lomachenko and drop him, what chance does Devin Haney have?
Yeah,
that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, Devin Haney's he's a good fighter, but he's not elusive.
Oh man, and nobody's gonna say that. Everybody's gonna write his coattails, say, "Oh, you're this bullshit." I'm gonna tell you right now, if I'm his dad, pull him out of the fight. Don't make the mistake Vito Melnicki's dad made because you're about to learn a hard lesson.
Yeah, and you can't erase that O, man. You can't erase it. Once that O goes, you can't. Yeah,
run. Oh, brother, man, I'm tired, man. I don't know if you see my eyes, man. I'm peaked, dude.
Well, I'm about to head
I've been fighting bees, dude. I have killer African bees, dude. I've been fighting for 3 days. I've been stung 7 times, dude. I don't think I'm feeling too good, bro.
Eric, you got some business tonight at the?
No. Actually, we closed down tonight. We didn't have any bookings tonight, so I closed down to be able to get here, and we got friends coming over. I'm doing a huge barbecue, dude.
Have fun, bro, man. Have fun, dude. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm going to take my dogs to the bathroom, and then I'm going to go kill more bees, dude.
Hey, get that wasp, that 20-foot wasp.
Oh, that shit don't work, bro. I tried that, bro. Look, I still got good reflexes, dude. I was swat like, woo. These are bullshit, bro. You see what I got, dude? Better fight, dude.
Go, yeah. You need to get yourself a
my wife told me, she's like, you're crazy. She's like, you got to go out there and not swarm. I'm like, yeah. Nobody's going to get me in the ring. I've been trying to get a sparring match forever. Nobody wants to fight me. I'm going to go fight these bees and shit. Yeah, I fought him, dude. One more knockout. One more sting, dude. I think I'm done, dude.
All right, guys. Well, that was a good show. That was fun, guys. Let's circle back up. We'll be back in 2 days. Tuesday.
Don't say circle back, please.
Oh, we'll be back on Tuesday. Yeah, that idiot.
Yeah,
We'll
sorry.
Let's do it, bro.
be back in 48 hours from now. Lots to talk about. Getting ready for the fights this week, and a lot to talk about, and it's gonna be a lot to talk about for the next several shows. So, guys, have a good night. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Help us out, man. Help us spread the word. If you guys want to hear, we may be coming at boxing from a little bit different angle, but one thing you're gonna get from us, you're not gonna get any fluff. We're not gonna sugarcoat anything. We're gonna just tell you the way it is.
And no shout outs here. No shout outs. I don't care about my homies back in P-Town.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless it's about beer or something, then
all right, brothers, man.
Have a good night, guys. For all of us at End of the Ring Live, I'm Mighty Mike.